Error occurred on Facebook. All right. Your live's not working there, Natalie, on your Facebook, but we're going to begin. Hello, everybody. This is Nathan Bell from Storm Master Weather. Hopefully, everybody is having a good Tuesday, relaxing, doing whatever you do. I mean, we're going on walks. I don't know, Bible study, doesn't matter. Let's get you the weather that is going on right now in the weather community. Get you your main weather stories, like cutting to the chase. I don't like being like these other guys on YouTube that like shows the famous, like all the graphics and all the weird thumbnails. I'm not that kind of guy. That's just not me. I'm more basic is better. Basic is better. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go to your Radar Omega radar, and we're going to go show you what's going on. We do have more rain coming into Florida, and I do want to do what it's called SMW highlights. So what this will do is give you an understanding on how much that rainfall's been continuing to increase over basically the overnight and into the morning and during the day. So here is the start of your day, showers and thunderstorms, and it's been pretty widespread. Now, I will say it's been more limited farther to the south than I once anticipated. So the worst rain seems to be Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Naples, South Cape Coral. Cape Coral's more off and on. Miami, still seeing those heavier downpours. You see that continuing to go along. In fact, let's go to storm total precip. It's called storm total precip. Storm total precip is a way to get us an understanding on how much the rainfall has been over a certain area. And you'll see it'll develop over the next little bit. So this is yesterday evening. More of your typical downpours yesterday evening. This is no tropical influence. The tropical influence actually begins in the morning hours. And you'll see how this goes. You'll see this really expand pretty quickly. You'll start seeing some oranges, some reds, even some whites and purples get all put on in there. And in fact, I'm going to go to our 14 frames, show you some of our rain amounts. Just to the east of Everglades City, we've had rain amounts anywhere between 7 to 8.5 inches of rainfall. Downtown Miami, more about 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. You have something to say, Natalie?
In regards to this or in regards to the comment?
Oh, we got comments?
Yeah, so Hannah from Twitch asked how we were doing.
What's up, Hannah Clinton? Hopefully you are having a good Tuesday evening. We're doing all right. We are doing a kind of a weather update, giving you guys an understanding what's going on. We do the first live of whatever we're doing of the day, and then we do another live on TikTok. TikTok's our main, but no, this is not my first stream on StreamYard. However, it is also not my first stream on TikTok either. So TikTok's my main way I stream. I like TikTok. It's the number one platform out there, period. Number one. Can't beat it. No, nothing beats it. Nothing beats TikTok, in my opinion. Let's show you what's going on currently on our radar that we have. We have some showers and thunderstorms over here by Miami, getting some heavier downpours, even some flash flood warnings in effect for northern Miami-Dade County and Florida. We also have another flash flood warning for southern Broward County and Florida under a flash flood warning. We do have some more rain coming in from Marco Island, and that's going to swing its way in. You'll see that kind of that tropical moisture, use purple, that tropical moisture coming in from the Caribbean, from the Gulf into Florida, and we're going to continue to see it. You go farther up to the north, it's a little bit more scattered activity. It's not as widespread. It's not as widespread. In fact, there's more scattered activity, more dry time than stuff like that. Do you like graphic stuff? what do like graphics, meaning like I like being more basic weather wise. I don't like posting too many graphics because it confuses the viewer. I want to talk on the basically right at the viewer's head, not over their head. That's the way I like doing meteorology. That's the way I've always done it, and I'm going to continue doing that. But if you can see over here in Orlando, Tampa, Melbourne, Florida, see more of the scattered activity, nothing that is totally off the charts rain. And over there by theme park land, that's why I call Orlando, that is theme park land, we are seeing more of the rain. So no, this is not our first live. No, viewers like simple streams, like an attractive stream. Yeah, I like more simpler streams in general. So we have this story over here with the rain, continuing to talk about it. There is evidence that we're probably about to get 90L, which is a tropical entity. It's usually something like a tropical depression or before depression in that general phase. Nothing that's really organized, maybe a little bit of breeze with it, but not seeing anything like hurricane-wise or tropical storm-wise. Now, what you're seeing on your map right here, this is a tropical development chance. What this basically talks about is the chances for tropical development. The next 2 days, 10%. The next 7 days, 20%. Like if you can put graphic stuff on your channel so it will help grow your channel. I'm not sure where you're talking about. Maybe you can text me after the stream and you can maybe explain that a little bit more because I'm not sure where you're getting at. Like I said, I'm more old-fashioned. I like old-fashioned more than I do like new gen stuff. That's just me. Okay. Discord name, Pauline. If you can do that for me. I'm pretty sure you can. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next story we have is our dangerous heat, and we don't have it popped up on here, but I am going to pop it up because it is very much warranted. So we're going to put on the heat alerts. Here is your heat alerts in your kind of magenta purple. We have an excessive heat warning in effect for much of Arizona, where temperatures are getting into the triple digits. In fact, 112 for Phoenix right now. 112 for Phoenix right now. 106 for Buckeye, Arizona. Goodyear, Arizona at 108. Litchfield Park at 110. Chandler, Arizona at 106. Casa Grande at 107. You go up here towards Viva Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. We have temperatures anywhere between 104 and 108 on the temperature readings. And then the orange, you see more of a heat advisory where temperatures are kind of getting up to that 100-degree mark, but it's tapped on with a little bit of humidity, just a smidge. Dew points are around 60. Nothing crazy, but around 60. Which means you feel it. It's just not substantial. Yeah, it's not overwhelming. Temperatures are around the 98, 99-degree mark. You go farther up to the north, it's about 99 or so. 104 Redding, 104 Red Bluff, and 100 Chico. So just something to keep in mind. By the way, I have thought about doing gaming content on Twitch. I have considered doing that on my off time. I play a trucking game on Twitch or on Steam, etc. Not the best at the speaking, but I'm doing the best I can. All right, over here by the Sonoma Mountains, 95 degrees in Novato in California, and then Petaluma, California at 90 degrees. So that heat is going to continue. In fact, we'll use one of the models to give you an understanding of the heat. My favorite model is the European model because the European model usually gives the accuracy. We do also have a heat advisory in effect for much of southern much of southern New Mexico. And if I repeat, I repeat on purpose because of the fact that in the weather business, you do that a lot. You do a lot of repeating. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, let's keep on going. Like I said, heat advisor, I'll put it up here. High temperature of 102 to 105 expected in southern New Mexico, especially southwest New Mexico. All right, so continuing to look at the heat, and you'll see as we continue to go into the next couple of days. So this is this morning. So this is this afternoon, this evening. Seeing the heat right here. Here's 8 o'clock this evening, 5 o'clock on the Pacific coast. Here is tomorrow evening where we're seeing more of the hot temperatures yet again. I think we're going to keep the heat, especially Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico. We're also going to start getting quite hot in Kansas as a heat ridge is building in from the west to the east. So we will be getting hotter in Kansas over the next couple of days, and it will stay that way through at least the end of the week. We're going to keep those temperatures up, That is going to be on Thursday, seeing those temperatures much higher. Cooler in California. See how we're starting to see more 80s get presented on the board and seeing those temperatures getting into between potentially 105 and 110. You go over here to New Mexico, temperatures anywhere between 100 to 105. Keeping those hot temperatures over here in Texas as that heat dome is expanding. I predict temperatures will at least get into the middle 90s by mid to late week in Kansas. And as that continues to increase, we're going to have thunderstorms off to the north, and that's going to be our next story. Tomorrow, we do have a slight risk for severe weather for northern Iowa, north of Interstate 80. Much of the state of Minnesota, and I'm including also Wisconsin. The threat for severe weather it's there. And we're not talking crazy threat. It's not a crazy threat, but it's there. It is something that is going to be present. So I'll show you what the models want to do, and then I'll tell you what I think. I'll show you a couple models, like I said, and then I'll tell you what I think. So rain and thunderstorms this evening, they're not going to be a whole lot. Activity is going to be very minimal. As we get into the morning tomorrow, and this is where we start our question marks. If you notice over here, it wants to bring in showers and thunderstorms to the Twin Cities towards Minneapolis, St. Paul, St. Cloud, etc. Could even see a couple of thunderstorms in western Ontario. That wants to try to get out a little bit. We get a little bit of a break. The sun pops out. We get a bit of humidity. And then later in the evening, afternoon and evening, we see more storms that develop. Now, right now, personally, other than the models, I'm not just talking about models, but personally, what I am seeing is more of a storm cluster event. Do we have any questions? No, we don't. All right.
No, we're good at the moment.
All right, good. So, and people can watch this later and talk about it, and they can ask us questions from previous videos. All right, thank you. And those thunderstorms stick around. Now, I'm a little bit questioning the late night threat, and that will also depend on what happens earlier in the day too. So just something to keep in mind. The tornado threat is there. It's not large, but it is there. It is something that is there. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it. Now that's your HRRR model. Let's go over here to our NAM 3K model, and then we'll go to Pivotal Weather and go check out the NAM and maybe the RRFS. There's several models, and if we talked about models all the time, we would never get anything else done because then it clutters up the whole show, and you're not getting an understanding what's going on. You're just seeing what it could do. Remember, models aren't gospel. Models are an interpretation of a weather pattern or a weather event. They're not definite. They are a prediction from a computer. So this is what our NAM3 wants to do, and this is interesting to me. I find this very interesting. It wants to bring in a mini MCS, and an MCS is what we call a mesoscale convective system. And a mesoscale convective system typically produces more damaging winds, and in this case, maybe an isolated tornado threat. That wants to roll that to the east, and then we potentially get another one of those mini mesoscale convective systems coming down into Iowa. And I think that will also set the stage for what could happen closer to Thursday. Because I think Thursday we could have a few MCS-like systems as well as a cold front comes down to the south from the north. Have you accepted my firm request? I will. I got it. Don't worry. I can do that. No problem. Yep. Accepted. Yep. Accepted. All right. Anyways, let's get back to what I was talking about. So we have that going on, right? Now, let's get into more of the kind of intricacies of the other threats that we're going to be talking about. Let's go over here to our next model we're going to start looking at. By the way, you get to see my handsome face, so that's cool.
Michael, your friend Michael on Facebook said 105 here.
105. All right. Okay. We still can't see the Facebook comments. So Facebook comments are going to be pretty hard to talk to the viewers, but we are going to do the best we can. So I'm going to let you
Facebook
interpret that.
I'm able to monitor from there.
Yeah, we still got to work on the Facebook because that has to be priority as well. So let's go over to what this model wants to do. So there's different models of what it wants to do. The GFS, I don't really put as much stock into the GFS as it can really over exaggerate weather events. All right.
Oh, Central Valley, California.
Okay. So as we get into tomorrow, one thing that these models don't do very well is pick up on thunderstorms. Let me turn on the thunderstorm indicator on here. Yep. Tries to get a kind of cluster of storms going and then maybe another kind of band late. And it's almost like 2 rounds. It's almost like 2 rounds instead of 1 round. You get 1 round, we get a break, and then we get another round is what's being interpreted by the NAM model, So just something to keep in mind. I do want to go ahead and show that model to our viewers. Check Discord. I will do it after the live. All right, so let me go back. Nope, not that one. Not that one. I wanted the other one. There you go. NAM. Hit the NAM again. There you go. And this wants different rounds of thunderstorms. Wants a round to come through first. See that first round earlier in the day. Brings the first round through. Gets a break. And then more kind of cellular storms. This would be a little bit worrisome because that could increase the tornado threat. Let's go see what the HRRR wants to do, because the HRRR definitely has some stock into this event. But let's talk about it. Let's see what we got on the HRRR. So we're going to go over here, go up to the north, go to the HRRR. I like using the 18Z because the 18Z is your 24 to 48 hour model. There's not as many model runs that the HRRR does, that it's 24 to 48 hours. So we're going to use that model. Let's go to CAPE, which is storm energy. That's like fuel, putting fuel into a car. Pretty basic, fuel into a car. We don't have as much of that today, and we probably won't. As we get into tomorrow, we will have some of that. We will. And as we get deeper into the evening, we may maximize on some of that. So that's something we're going to have to keep a close eye on. And let me put it at the highest, kind of the most average. On average, our CAPE anywhere tomorrow is going to be between 2,000 and 3,500 joules per kilogram. That is moderate CAPE. Whenever you're talking about summer, you're always going to have some type of energy for storms. So that is going, so we just checked that box off. We just checked that box off for energy for storms. Then we have more energy for storms earlier in the day on Thursday. That'd be more earlier in the day. All right, let's go over here to our dew points. What's the dew points wanting to represent for this event? Typically, you go farther to the north, the dew points are more of a question mark. Let's see if this model thinks so. And no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It actually brings sufficient moisture. I'm not going to say it's like way overwhelming moisture, but there's enough moisture there. We'll have dew points. I agree with this model anywhere between 64 and 69 degree dew points. 64, 69 degree dew points. So it'll be muggy to very muggy. It'll be in that category that's muggy to very muggy. There'll be a little bit of pockets. I don't know about the 70 yet. Sometimes they underdo that. Sometimes it's overdone. One thing that's questionable, though, is quality of moisture source over here in Wisconsin. What is not questionable, though, as I have been seeing myself, is, there you go, the overall wind field, the overall wind shear, the low-level winds. If you go over here to 9 p.m., that wind field is strongest between about 7 and, it stays stronger throughout the night. I think eventually this would get down into Iowa. We'll see if the tornado threat, a localized tornado threat, can develop north in northern Iowa, mostly the northern counties. In my opinion, this would be more northern, kind of bracket this off so everybody understands what I'm talking about. These northern tier counties is what I'd be watching more for, if something can develop in that environment potentially. Let's go over here to the NAM3K. Sometimes I like showing soundings. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. Depends on the situation. Depends on if I feel like it's needed. All right, let's see what the NAM3. So the NAM3 does bring the higher wind fields. Little area over here during the early afternoon for southwest Minnesota, right? So we have that area there. I wonder what the tornado parameters look like. SIGTOR. Okay, there is definitely some there. I'm not going to say it's like crazy, but there is some there. Sometimes people read too much into the numbers of these. When it comes to significant tornado events, I do read them. When it comes to these type of events, I look at coverage of it. I look at more of what the coverage looks like. Let's go over here. Someone and that lady still says check Discord. We'll check it later. Like I said, that's something to keep in mind. All right, let's go back down to the south here. What kind of SIN do we potentially have? SIN is it's basically an inhibitor. We'll call it an inhibitor in the atmosphere, and it's talking about capping. This time of year, you do talk about that a lot more. It is discussed a lot more. So during the evening, yep, that's what I was talking about. All right, so watch this. So we get a potential system. That's a system. That's not capping. That's not what I'm talking about. So the first round, we get storms during the afternoon and evening. Then it kind of gets more interesting because if you look, this is late at night. Late at night, we're talking high capping. The capping's very high late at night on the NAM 3. Let me go over here, go back over here towards the other models on what it wants to do. We're going to go to the Twin Cities. I want to go to the Twin Cities. And I want to go to the HER model. And we'll keep the 18Z. And let's see what forecast hour we use.
By the way, Mama Storm's watching on Facebook.
Sounds good. Let me go over here, and that's earlier in the day, right? It's the earlier in the day stuff. This one I'm more worried about. So let's go over here to our HER model. Go take a look at it. Like I said, I'm trying to make this more simple to people. People don't really understand a lot of people don't understand the soundings very well sometimes. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so let's pick a sounding about right here. This is late on Wednesday. SVR. Okay. So this is not something that would be particularly tornadic. And in fact, I like comparing contrasting models. So let's go over here to the NAM 3 and see what it does. Same thing, SVR, same thing as SVR. And then what does the wrap's not going to be able to tell us exactly what's going on here. And then SVR here with somewhat of a capping farther up in the atmosphere, somewhat of a capping right here. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, which is good. Capping's good. You want cap. You do want you want cap. The higher the cap, the higher the chance that you may not see storms. Puts a hold on storms. Says stop right there. You're not doing anything. That's what that means. Stop right there. You're not doing anything just yet. Still not seeing a whole lot of veering with the winds. And when I'm talking about veering with the winds, in fact, I'm going to go to the later in the night situation. And we're going to go over here. See if there's something a little higher. Yeah, there's a little bit, but there's more kind of an elevated cap as well. More of an elevated cap, but also there's a little bit more veering with the winds. You kind of see that slight arch, but it's not very well put at all. But it can suggest to me a low tornado threat, not a high tornado threat. I don't think tornadoes is the main discussion tomorrow. I really don't. But it is. There's a chance of it. You always have to be conscious of the atmosphere. The atmosphere is going to do what the atmosphere wants to do, no matter what the models think or not. This is just an interpretation of what could happen. Let's go with the Shreve model. I want to go with the Shreve model or the Shref. And let me go over here toward the bulk shear. What does the bulk shear do on the Shref? This is something the Storm Prediction Center likes looking at. And there is some stronger winds towards 12Z Thursday, but that doesn't even come until later on. Maybe a little wave towards Wednesday evening right here, where we get 500 millibar winds anywhere between 40 and 50 knots, which is decent, which is decently stronger. Not way stronger, but definitely is there. Let's go to the storm relative helicity. Helicity is the ability of storms wanting to turn. It's all about wanting storms to turn. And looks like earlier in the day there could be a little bit of that. Just a little bit. Not substantial, but just a little bit of that. Let's go back to the HER model again. Use the 18Z. Do we have a question? No, we don't. All right. Let me go back over here again.
Also, Mr. Anderson is watching on Facebook.
Let me go back over here again. Wednesday. Yeah, see, this is wanting to be a little bit more aggressive, the 0 to 1 KMAGL on the knots earlier in the day, actually. That's earlier in the day. Now, what this does suggest to me when I'm seeing more speed shear, there's two types of wind shear you got to look at. There is speed shear, and then there's directional shear. When you have strong speed shear in a severe weather event, that can suggest more of a damaging wind scenario. When you have the directional shear, it would suggest more of a higher potential tornado threat. Doesn't mean you can't get tornadoes. I'm saying that right now. Wouldn't be surprised if there was a few isolated tornadoes. I don't think it's going to be a crazy type of day, but it is something I'm going to keep an eye on. That's for sure. Outbreak is very interpretative. Some people think 5 tornadoes is an outbreak. Sometimes people think 10 is an outbreak. Sometimes people think you have to get up to 20 for an outbreak. It depends on what you interpretate as an outbreak. Depends on what you interpretate as an outbreak. All right, let's go back over here to the HRRR again. And go back over here. Go back to storm relative helicity on it. There's some there, more stronger up to the north. One thing also about severe weather you got to look at is, can everything connect the dots? You have to be able to connect the dots. That's what it's all about, connecting the dots. If you can't connect the dots, then the severe threat is not as significant. Like, for example, you have the instability, or you have the moisture, but you don't have as much, nowhere near as much instability. It can be overcame a little bit, but not as much as what maybe someone would say 2 days earlier. Just something to think about. Fruit for thought. Let's go to the supercell composite on what the HRRR keeps on saying. And there's some there. That's Wednesday evening. And there is some of a supercell composite. It's not substantial, but it seems like it clusters up a bit over here. Suggests a thunderstorm complex might form just south of Minneapolis, and then another kind of potential area developing maybe earlier in the day. Earlier or later, it's really more unpredictable farther to the west later in the day. Maybe earlier or later in the day over here by Sioux City and Sioux Falls. Let's go to our lapse rates, how high our lapse rates are. They maximize earlier in the evening, meaning storms are going to be able to rise taller. You're going to be able to get storms to rise more. So storms are able to do that. I do want to show a helicity track, though. Where is that? All right, let's do it. All right, this is what we call updraft helicity. It also shows if a storm can rotate, straight line, or just damaging winds in general, and it shows where a storm could go. So it kind of favors a certain area. And according to these models here, wanting to favor southeast Minnesota. Right now, for what I've seen so far, it's favoring more Minneapolis south. One thing I am going to keep an eye on tomorrow, because everybody's going to focus on that Minneapolis area, I feel. You're going to potentially see an area farther up to the north that is going to be a wild card. WC. Wild card. This is the wild card because what will happen is these storms will roll east. And depending on the storm mode, those could go tornadic. So that's the wild card is farther up to the north. Down farther to the south, it seems to be more probable of what could happen. Now, I will say, down here by Omaha, Lincoln, Nebraska, you're in the marginal risk, but you're close enough to the slight risk that I can foresee a risk potential upgrade to potentially include Omaha. If we were to see the enhanced risk, by the way, I'll tell you where I think that's going to go. If we get an enhanced risk, it's going about right here, I think. No, a little too big. A little too big. I think that enhanced risk goes right about here. Maybe a little bit smaller than that, but I think that enhanced risk going right about here. Could it get bumped up to the north? Yes. But this is just if that happens. We don't want to see it happen, but if it were to happen. If the enhanced risk is happening, I think it's for damaging winds. I think it's for damaging winds personally. So I don't think it's going to be for a tornado threat. It's going to be for more damaging winds. And timing definitely has some question marks with it to me as to when storms want to go. So that's just something that is worth keeping a very close eye on. Let's talk about, I'm going to bring the models back up again, and I want to go back to our Florida situation. And then in the next couple of days, we'll be able to really fine-tune the heat problem. We'll be able to fine-tune that significant heat farther off to the east, but not ready to make a complete judgment on who sees the hottest conditions or not, because our heat over here farther to the east is different than the heat that you're seeing out into the southwest, because it's not as humid, it's more of a dry heat, and it can be a little bit easier to interpret because you just use temperatures. You're not using a heat index. Over here, you're obviously going to use a heat index. Now, showing these rainfall amounts, we've already have seen quite a bit of rainfall, anywhere between 2 and 5 inches of rainfall. And it's showing by the time we get to the end of Saturday, it's wanting to show anywhere between another 5 to even 12 inches of rainfall in isolated pockets. I think on average it's going to be between about 3 to 8 inches. Now that is being conservative because, as you know, the Florida tropical humidity may even enhance that rainfall. So instead of seeing 1 inch per hour, you're seeing 2 to 2.5 inches an hour. So that's going to be something we have to keep an eye on. And then it wants to move farther to the west. And then next week, we could see more rainfall farther off to the west. And we'll see if that happens. Still a little bit out, but just something to keep in mind. Now, I do want to show the National Hurricane Center website. I'm going to go to the entire screen. I think that makes sense. Yeah, entire screen, hit the hide button, and that's going to go to the NHC. All right, let's go to the National Hurricane Center and letting you know what's going on. When you see that red X, or not red X, yellow X, you are seeing a 10% probability of cyclone formation within the next 48 hours. And in fact, I want people to be able to see this. So I got an idea. Here. Back over here. Go to the share screen. And Radar Omega. Showing that going on here, and then let's show what's going on down here. So let's go satellite, And then we should be able to get continental U.S. Yes, we can. All right, perfect. And let's go to water vapor. Water vapor should be good. Yeah. All right, so there's quite a bit of dry air you can see, but notice the kind of the flow of the moisture coming in, that low level moisture coming in from the Caribbean. That's where it's coming in from, and that's the Caribbean. Now let's go over here to upper level water vapor, and you can see it even better. You can see that moisture even better that's tapping in, right? You're not seeing anything that's too organized from what I see. Let me go to our visible satellite. I know we're getting out of daylight, but let's see. Sorry about that. Excuse me. And okay, just that one severe thunderstorm warning, not too bad. All right, let's continue going forward here. And you'll see as we get to sunrise here, and I'm pretty sure I got it shared on here. Yep, there you go. And you'll see the cloud cover over here. What you're watching for in a tropical entity is you seeing anything organized or circulating. And right now I don't see that. I don't see that too much. Really don't. Really don't see it too much. Maybe if you convinced me, it would be right about here. Right about here or so. And then let's go over to tropical tidbits. Because I'm pretty sure, yep, there's 90L. This is a thing I use a lot on TikTok, so I'm teaching people about this one. This is tropical tidbits. This gives you an understanding on what a storm could do, what it may do, what it's not going to do. And you don't see a whole lot of organization with it. That's exactly where it is. So that's where the little tiny circulation is. It's not a big circulation. We're not seeing any organized storm activity where it's all around the center. So nothing organized, which is a good thing. Now, over the next couple of days, we'll see if this thing tries to go. Over here on the intensity guidance, this is over here by knots. And you see the different kind of categories here. You have below tropical storm, you have category 1, and right now most models keep it about 25 knots or under. So I really don't think we're going to see Alberto with this right now, but we'll see. We'll have to see if that continues to happen. Now, let's see. That's where the center of the low, where they think it is. I think it's more closer to the coastline. I think it personally is more closer to the coastline. Let's see what the GEFS tracks want to be. Yeah, some of these want to just scatter around Florida and just sit around, and then 2 models want to go way up here. But like I said, don't use that as like gospel, as it always says. Here's another one, and it doesn't want to do a complete big time movement. You're seeing a lot of different tracks that turn. A few of them zip it off to the northeast. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be more of a slower trend in general. That's what I got for you right now. So I do want to thank everybody for joining the live stream this evening, and hopefully you join me over on TikTok, as we may or may not be going live this evening over there and continuing to do stuff like that. So thank you for tuning in to Storm Master Weather, your home for no nonsense weather, and that's the bottom line, because the Storm Master said so. Viewers first, science second.